Hands on the door! Hands on the car! That's good. Right, you're under arrest, okay? For suspicion of murder.
Lilia was just 9 years old when her life was brutally cut short on the 28th of July 2022. She was playing with her little sister on the street just outside her mum's place of work. We watched images of her taken by CCTV. They show a happy, lively girl, as carefree as any 9-year-old should be, chasing her hula hoop on this warm summer's evening. She should have been safe. She was playing in a pedestrianised area and just yards away from her mum. How could she know? How could her mother know? How could anyone imagine that within seconds she would be stabbed by a complete stranger and left to die? Yours was a shocking and horrific act of violence. It was not just an innocent little girl's life that you took away that day. You've destroyed her family's life too. We heard a moving victim personal statement from Lilia's mother, whose life is now consumed by grief over the loss of her firstborn child, whose memory she will keep alive by erecting a monument near where Lilia was killed. The monument would depict Lilia playing with her hula hoop, just as she was doing in the final few seconds of her life. We heard from Lilia's stepfather, who loved Lilia as his own. He described her as a little girl with a beautiful soul and strong personality, who loved drawing and painting. He also describes how the family has been affected and how Lilia's little sister bursts into tears every so often because she misses her big sister, her protector. Nothing I can do or say today can relieve the pain of losing Lilia. No term of years will seem sufficient punishment to Lilia's loved ones for your crime. No term of years will begin to compensate them for their loss. We will never know exactly what was going through your mind that day when you circled the streets of Boston, apparently looking for a suitable victim. As to your background, we know that you arrived here in 2018 from Lithuania seeking work. It was in the period between 2018 and 2021 that you probably first developed symptoms of schizophrenia. In 2020, you had a run-in with the police after using a pepper spray on a woman. When you were arrested, you displayed strange behaviour, referring to yourself as Lucifer and saying that NASA had implanted a chip in your body. You were sectioned on that occasion. Whilst in hospital, you attacked a nurse without provocation and suggested that you did this because you were subject to mind control. You returned to Lithuania soon after that and were started on antipsychotic medication. You were a user of drugs, including cannabis and amphetamine, despite knowing that this was liable to worsen your schizophrenia. You returned to the United Kingdom in early July 2022, and you lived in a shared house on Thorold Street, Boston. You did not have much to do with your housemates and even got into a fight with one of them. Then on the 26th of July 2022, you walked into a branch of Wilko's and bought a knife. It was an ordinary kitchen knife, but it is the same one that you would later use to kill. 2 days later, on the 28th of July 2022, just after 5 p.m, you left your house with a knife hidden in your trousers and began walking around Boston. Meticulous analysis of footage from several CCTV cameras in the area has enabled your route to be traced. What that shows is that you walked around and around the same area in Boston, apparently in search of a victim. You walked past several people and children, but you kept returning to the same area around Fountain Lane. That was where Lilia and her sister were playing. You watched the little girls from a distance and you waited. An off-duty police officer, DC Andrew Pearson, happened to be walking along Fountain Lane, and you waited until he had walked past where the girls were playing. Then at 6:15, you did the unthinkable. You headed straight towards the girls, quickening your pace as you neared. You pulled out the knife, and almost as soon as you reached the unsuspecting Lilia, you plunged the knife into her heart. You did this with such force that you lifted Lilia off the ground before she was thrown back against metal shutters. You then ran off, heading straight for Thorold Street, where you tried to hide the knife behind a radiator. Lilia's mum rushed out, having heard screams. And as she did so, she saw what no parent should ever have to see. The sight of her beloved daughter lying on the pavement, bleeding out. Despite the best efforts of DC Pearson, who heard the screams and came to help, paramedics and doctors, Lilia could not be saved. The knife had penetrated her heart, and she didn't stand a chance. Over the next 2 days, you contacted various family members asking for money so that you could return to Lithuania. You did not tell them what you had done. You also shaved off your beard. You would probably have escaped to Lithuania were it not for the fact that a media appeal led to you being recognised by one of your flatmates who called the police. You were arrested on the afternoon of the 30th of July 2022. Deividas Skebas, the sentence I pass on you is as follows. For the murder of Lilia Valutyte, I sentence you to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 25 years.